Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. It's going to be a little bit closer today for my video because I'm working with some small details. So if you read the description of the video, it says that we're making some cabochons, gemmy, blingy type things. So how many of you have lots of these little bits and pieces in your collection? You know, we all went on the bandwagon and bought these things. I'm just going to stand up while I do this part because I can't see. So yeah, I bought, you know, we've all had these from scrapbooking, or, you know, we have friends who've given these things to us, or we've picked them up at the dollar store or the thrift shops. So yeah, I have an abundance of these things too. And I also have like the bigger glass globby, you know, sort of nasty gems. Because, I don't know, for some reason we thought we needed these, right, in our life. And we do, but just not the way that we had originally planned. At least I don't think. So that's part of it. And then the other part, I'm just going to move this over for a second. Yeah, even some pearls. You might have some of these little flat back pearls. And how many of these have you seen at the dollar store or no, even the thrift shops, and you pass them by because you thought, oh, I am never beading with seed beads. It's hard on the eyes to bead with this kind of stuff, and it's really intense. You have to do a lot of counting and making sure all your beads are good enough to get through the needle. So it's a bit of, and the needle is hard to thread too. So it's a bit of a pain. I'm going to try to sit down now and hopefully I can keep an eye on what's going on. So it's a bit of a pain to bead with these. And, you know, it's okay if you're doing, you know, some small slow stitching or something. But for the most part, I'm sure, like a lot of people, you have passed these by because you know that you're never going to use them, right? Well, today you're going to wish that you'd pick some up if you hadn't already. So we're going to do some beading, and we are going to be very fast and very easy at this. And to get you started, you need some beads. Now, they don't have to be seed beads. You can use bigger ones. As you watch the video, you'll figure out why and how. But I like to use these because I have so much of this, and you use up a lot just to make one gem. So I'm using the seed beads for starters, and then you need some felt. We're going to stitch right on the felt, and don't get scared when I say stitch because there's not a lot of stitching. But we're going to stitch right on the felt, and this way you have access all the way around it. And it's also nice to have felt to, and I'm just going to lift some of this up here so you can see, to host your beads. Because this way they're not flying all over the place. You know, I've got some gold ones on this bag, and then I've got some gems here. And then I have more pieces of felt for other bags of gems as I open them, or beads as I open them. So what are we making today? Let me show you. So this is a beaded cabochon style with the oval flat back gem in the center. And then these ones, and these are so cute and so fast to make. They're made using those little, where'd they go? They were on my table here. Here we go. Just a sec. I hope that you can see this okay. Just using those little scrapbook beads. And they're very super fast. So you need some felt, you need your beads, you need your gems, whatever kind of gems you have. You need some thread, just ordinary cotton thread, and you need a needle. And I always recommend having several thread all at once so that you don't have to stop and start your project. If you struggle with threading a needle, you might want a needle threader. And these usually come, you usually find these in sewing kits at the dollar store. And you want to make sure that your needle, for the most part, can go through your seed beads. Now, if you're buying seed beads at the dollar store or at the thrift shop, you can bet that they are made in China. And they are irregular beads. And some will go through your needle no problem, and then every once in a while you'll get one that is stuck and no way is it going to go through your needle. That is just how it is, and I just pull them off. I have a little cap here from my gems, and I use that to catch the beads that the hole is too small and they don't go through, and you'll see that as we go along. And then at the end of my whatever I'm doing, I just toss it in the trash. But that's what it's like when you're working with very inexpensive seed beads, you know, made in China. If you do want to do this on a regular basis and you don't like to fight with these beads, but these are so cheap, you can buy a more expensive Czechoslovakian glass bead. They're seed beads, and they have different sizes that you can buy, and they're all uniform, perfect beads. But for the sake of what we're making, these cheap ones will be just fine. And you know, it's just a matter of having a little bit of patience and taking the bead off that doesn't fit. And you'll see that as we go along and do this. So in making these things, and I'm going to talk about these gems first, because we're going to start with one of these. I'm going to start with the pink one, I think. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to get some pink beads out too, because I have some here. These are quite deep. You know, like quite thick. So the seed beads, once they go around, like on this one, they look quite nice and complementary to the bead. If you wrap them around this size, they tend to get lost in the beadwork because the flat back is so low. And you may say, well, that doesn't look like it on these ones. And you're right. And that's because I've actually raised this underneath. So we are going to have a few seconds. We're going to make one on like this, and then we're going to make one this size with the smaller gems so you can see how they're made. But these ones are super, super fast, and you can see. And you can leave them sitting on your felt until you're going to use them. And I want, if you have these small gems, or, you know, if you have a friend that can give them to you, or you can go and pick them up at the dollar store, because they're always at the dollar store or Michael's or whatever. You know, they come in those big long sheets. So you can find these if you don't have them in your stash. But ideally, for next week, we're going to be making some flowers. And we are going to use these for the centers of the flowers. So next week, have a little stash of these ready so that you can use them in the flower making. So we will get to these ones second, because sometimes you want to have gems like this that you can use on your art projects. So we're going to start with making a big one, and that's a little bit easier to make, although it does take a little bit longer to go around the bigger stone or gem. If you don't have large gems like this or these nasties, you can always use a button or a button that has a shank. Just break off the back of the shank. Get creative. You can find all kinds of things. You might have some cardstock, and then you can add things on it to make it a little bit more blingy. You could use your stickle dots, whatever, the raised dimensional dots. You could use those. That takes a little bit of time to dry, but you can make big blobs in the center with those as well. So, you know, just go through your stash. Don't go too crazy. But if you're going to join me next week to make some flowers, then I would recommend that you have some of these type of gems. You might have some old jewelry that you can take apart that has these gems in it. You can use jewelry in the center if you want. Maybe you have a nice round earring that you want to use, or, you know, some stones from some jewelry that you want to use. Lots of options. So to get started, you need to have your needle and thread ready, which I do, and you need a piece of felt. So I'm hoping that this is going to, I just want to make sure in the camera. Oh yeah, that's pretty close. So you may have to zoom in a little bit more in order to see everything, you know, really, really close, because this is tiny and detailed stuff. So I'm taking a gem off of here. We're going to start with, I think I'm going to start with this clear gem inside. Now they have the sticky stuff on here, but I'm never confident that that's 100%. So I'm going to take my needle, and it's knotted at the other end of the thread, and I'm going to feed it through from the back side of the thread or the felt, and just pull this up so that the knot is, you know, on the back side and against the felt. And then I'm just going to lay the thread down flat on the felt. And I know you can't really see it, but it's there. And then before I put the gem down, if you're working and you have time, you can just use your regular glue to glue it down. I'm in a hurry, so I'm going to use my hot glue. Now, you don't want to put so much glue that it oozes out the sides. You want to keep your glue to a minimum. So I'm just putting one little dot there. I might move the camera a little bit here. Okay. And then I'm taking this gem and I'm gluing right over the thread, sort of centered. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you do not want to have glue oozing out around the sides, because that's going to have an impact on when you're putting your beads around it. So I hope you can see that. Again, I'm just going to look. Yeah, I think you can see it. You can always bring it closer if it's still too far away. So needle and thread, I'm going to get some, I wanted some pink beads for this one. Now I'm making these for a combination of my boho journals and for some flowers and that type of stuff. So I've got some pearly kind of beads here and some bright pink ones, I think. Okay, I have a long strand here of something. I'm just going to get that out of the way. And I think it's fun when they're eclectic and you don't have matchy everything. And so I'm just going to start to put some of these beads on my needle. And in all honesty, because these are irregular beads, I recommend that you do them 3 at a time and then slide them to make sure that they do go on your thread. And you're just going to pile them up quite a few at a time, or you're going to make a long strand, sorry. These ones seem to be okay, but they're mixed with some, I don't know if you can see that or not. They've got some long bugle beads in there too, so I have to be moving those out of the way in order to get to the other beads. And yeah, this is going to be like watching paint dry, but you may not want to go too far ahead of me here. And yeah, not too many on the needle at the same time, because they do get stuck. Although some of them you can, you know, give them a little nudge and they will eventually go on your, over the needle. Now this has got to be the easiest and fastest way to make a cute little gem. No, I've got some other ways that are faster. We'll get into those more. I was going to put the spring, because I was thinking flowers would be nice for spring, and I was going to do that more in the spring. But I'm going to be really honest with you. I've seen so many bad videos on flowers, of certain kind of flowers and how they're made, that I was watching one the other day and I just got so annoyed, and I said, okay, we have to, before people start doing this, we have to correct the method. So I'm going to, of course, wait until a couple of weeks to do the method that I'm talking about. But we are going to do flowers for the next few weeks. So you need some centers, you need some blingy pieces for them. Oh, my beads are going flying here. I know, it's like watching paint dry, isn't it? Yeah, this one is definitely not going on, so it's going in my garbage thing. Okay, I can go right around now. Okay, I hope you can see that okay? So when you're doing real beading, it takes time, because you have to couch these as you go along and stitch them in place. But we're doing speed beading. So the first thing you want to do is bring your beads around your piece gently, to see how they fit. And you can see I have too many here. So I'm going to start by taking some of those away. And I'm taking them right off my needle. So you do want to check as you go along so you don't have too many to take off. But that looks a little bit closer, although I think there might be a few more coming off yet. Yeah, I think I can get a few more off here. I'll take another 3 off. Okay, I'm going to put this just out of the way a little tiny bit. So now I'm taking my white glue. Oh, that's a really big piece of felt. I didn't realize it was that long. Okay, get that out of the way. So I'm going to take my white glue and I'm going to put glue around the edge of the gem about halfway. Don't try to do the whole thing. And you don't have to worry if it makes a big blob. I'm just going around the gem. And then pushing all the beads to the end of the thread and keeping your needle out of the way. Get your needle right out of the way and just pull the beads fairly tight and start to, with your fingers, place the beads into the glue. Nice and tight, making sure your threads are tight. And pushing it into the glue. Now, as you're doing this, you know, the glue is underneath, it's gluing to the bead, but it's also seeping a little bit in between the bead and catching the thread, although it's not that big of a deal because the beads are on a thread. So as long as they're sort of glued down in spots, it's not going to come apart that easily. So then I'm going to turn this around and you know, I've already glued this, so to try and get your glue applicator into that corner is nearly impossible. But again, it doesn't have to be, because as long as you catch it as close as you can around here, your beads are on a thread. They're not going to fall off or come apart. So now I'm going to take my glue again and just go as close as I can to the end where I left off. But I'm now going to stop about 2 beads before the end or the beginning where I started from. Okay, so you're not going to put glue all the way to the end. And that's so you can make some adjustments as you go along. Maybe you have to take another bead off or 2 beads off, and you don't want to get a lot of glue on your thread. It's still workable if you get glue on your thread, but it is a little bit tougher. So now I'm going to again catch those beads and pull them as tight as I can into the thread and wrap them around. And I think that I probably should take 1 more bead out because I'm going to be pulling that even tighter yet. So I just want you to see if you can there. So I'm just taking 1 more bead away. And this is again why you don't want to put glue right to the end, because when you find out that you have to take a bead off, you're not only taking the bead off, but you're running glue all over the place. Okay, so now this should fit very nicely. So I'm just going to slowly ease this in, and I'm not going to worry about trying to get glue in that little tiny spot where there isn't any glue. I'm just kind of pushing the beads in around the gem. And when I feel comfortable enough that it's, you know, it fits nicely, I don't have to add or take any more away, I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to stick it through the felt very close to the gem, as close to the gem as I can get, and as close to the first bead that we put on at the beginning. So I have to do that on the table. But I just want to show you where I was putting it. So you're kind of ending right where you started. Okay, and then it's gone through the felt, so I'm just going to pull the felt, or pull the thread, not the felt, pull the thread and just pull it tight. And then you can reshape the beads a little bit more from there. So it's looking cute, isn't it? So then turning it over gently, and don't worry if the beads do shift a little bit, because you can replace them a little bit more. I'm going to go back out. You don't have to go in the exact same spot where you started, but this time I'm going to put my thread through on the outside of the bead strand that's around there. So we're going to start another row. So pulling the thread tight, and you can still adjust the beads as you go along. I'm going to add another row. So this doesn't look like it's too hard, does it? I've been doing this all day, so my eyes are getting a little cockeyed here. It's a little harder to see. And there's going to be some pauses and moments of silence. You can fast forward if you don't want to wait and watch me, but I'm doing this as I go along. So again, pulling the beads. And this row you need a little bit more. And remember not to put too many on your strand, because there's nothing worse than picking up all these beads and then you get one that's stuck on the needle and you can't get past it. Okay, I promise it's not too much longer. Once this row is done, it's pretty easy. Okay, and every once in a while check to see where you're at. So I hope that this is the kind of stuff that you are interested in, and you know, please let me know in the comments. Like I said, it's not the easiest stuff to show you, but you know, the results are so effective that it's well worth it, because it doesn't take that long. And I've always said that it's fine to do this kind of stuff, but to go out and buy all these supplies, it gets expensive. You know, to buy the fancy gems and have all the different colors you want. So wherever you can be in control of the items that you use, it's always nice to do that, because then you know that you can just quickly make, you know, a handful of gems to use in your projects. You know, maybe it's not super quick, but it's still more economical to go and buy a bag of beads like this. And we're going to play with these mixed ones as well. And you know, to just do this yourself. And this is a great way to have a bag of felt scraps that you can work with, and you know, maybe have all the supplies together with the beads, because it really wouldn't take much more than a lunch bag, or a little plastic lunch bag, or a little container to keep all this stuff together for when you do need beads. You can have all your gems in there, you know, your little glass or plastic gems that you're going to use for centers, or you might find some interesting buttons that you can put in the container, and it's always there and ready for you when you say, oh, I need some gems today. Okay, stuck on the first bead here, so I'm going to take that one off. We're actually looking pretty good. I don't think I have to put any more on. Okay, I'm going to move this out of the way again. So the same procedure. Get your needle out of the way, because this thing knots so easily if you're not paying attention. So I always just put it right out of the way, and then holding it away from the gem, I add a little bit of glue. And I'm just using tacky glue, but you can use your whatever, you know, art glitter or fabric tack or whatever you use. Don't go out and buy special glue. You just want to make sure you have a good little tip on it so that you can do this precise type of gluing without having too much glue. Okay, so I'm just holding all the beads tight on the thread and going around. Don't worry if the glue does ooze out a little bit. And then I'm going to turn it around. And that's the nice thing about working on the felt, is that you can turn it around and make it work for you. Now my glue is getting a little globby here. Oh, I have a rag in here. There we go. Except now I brought something with me. Okay, so I'm just gonna, and you don't have to get in that little corner. Like I said, you just put your glue where as close as you can, and you're gonna stop about 2 beads before the end. Okay, putting the cap on again. Holding the beads tight on the thread. I'm just going to go around, pushing it in place, and it looks very good. I don't have to worry. I've got enough beads on here for it to fit. So I'm just going to show you again how it looks close up. And then taking my needle, I'm going to go as close to the first row and as close to the first bead in the second row, so that this tucks that last little piece in. Okay, so now it's nice and tight, and I can squish these around a bit. Turn it over and knot your thread. And we are done. But I always like to take my thread and just feed it under the felt, because you can feel the felt with your needle, and just pull it through. The knot is there. It's getting tucked in. And then I cut my thread. And you could go further and put a little bit of glue on there, but it really isn't necessary. Now, this I would like to let it sit and dry. You could do more rows if you wanted. You could make this as big as you like. I've got this one here, and it was just to clean up my little bits and pieces, and it matched the gem, so I added the silver on there. And these are great for my boho pieces. So the next thing is to leave this to dry for, 15-20 minutes at least. And then once it's dry, you can cut them out. And so we're going to cut one of these little ones here. I'm just going to cut it at the end. First, I'm going to cut it away. Let's cut these two. I'm going to cut it away from the main felt. And you don't have to worry about threads in here, because your thread, when you end it, is actually sort of close to the first row, right? And it's in between the beads. So you can go pretty close to cutting this without worrying that you're cutting through the threads. Now, if you're using this on a project, like a journal or something, you may want to consider using felt or some type of backing that is going to be complementary to your book, because there is a very thin line of the white that's going to show through. But if you're pushing it into like a flower, or you're pushing it into something, you're not going to see that white background. But you've got this cute little cabochon that you've made with literally nothing. And you can't buy these. Like, if you tried to buy these, you'd probably pay $3 or $4 for a package of 10, and you can make this for pennies. So there is, again, still a little bit of that felt residue around the edges. So depending on what you're going to use it for, you may want to now do another row around the outside edge of your piece, doing the same method. Except this time, I don't know if I have enough thread on here. Yeah, I do. This time I'm going to, again, bring my knot through the back of the felt. And I'm just going to come up very close to the bead. More towards the bead than the felt as much as you can. Now you will feel, sometimes you'll feel the glue when you're going through here, but if you can get the needle through, you only have to get it through once. So if it doesn't work in that very first spot that you're pushing into, then just move over a little bit and push it in from there. So now I'm technically beading along the side of this, not on top flat. Does that make sense? I'm beading along the side, but the beads are still going to line up with this row of beads, but it's going to cover up this little piece of felt because we are on the third row on this one. So this had my multicolored beads, so I'm just going to find, I don't know if I have any left. No, I don't think I do. Okay, so I'm going to take another piece of felt. That's why it's great to have these little pieces of felt if you've got some, or if you have pieces of leather or suede, that is great too. Or ultra suede is nice to work on. And if you can find a felt that is enough contrast to the beads you're working on. I kind of struggled with these pink beads, but if you can find a contrasting color, like for the pink I might use like a black or a dark purple or something, which I have here as well. So again, you don't want to you don't want to get any knots in your thread, so just be careful. And I'm going to string on a bunch of these beads. And when I do multicolored like that, I don't worry about the beads, what I'm putting on. Some people do. Some people have to put like a red one, a blue and a green, red, blue and green, red, blue and green. I find that, the color combinations change each time. The only thing with these little beads, and I should be aware of my own rule, it's always the first one is stuck. So get rid of that one and start again. And 3 beads, Kim. Don't get bead happy. And we'll lose a few as we go along. Yeah, this one's definitely not going on. Okay, 2 on, 1 in the garbage. And that, when you're doing this with these irregular beads, you have to be prepared that that's going to happen, that you're going to have beads that are not going to go on no matter what. But this is a great way to cull the herd, right? and get rid of stuff that isn't working for you. And yeah, I could use a beading needle. I have them. The only problem with beading needles is that it takes me so long to thread them that I just get annoyed. So I would much rather deal with these beads that don't fit. And even there, sometimes you will have beads that won't fit on anything, even the beading needles. And sometimes you can force them. Now I'm just going to do a sort of a approximate go around so you can see how many beads I'm at. Again, you may want to fast forward. I don't know. I know it's kind of boring stuff, but there's no other way to really show this except for you to sit and watch me. See now. Thank goodness I'm not doing a whole necklace or a garment for you to watch, because I'm hitting a lot of these small beads. And if I was off camera, of course they would all slide on, no problem, right? But just because I'm on camera, that old Murphy, right, Hazel? Murphy, he's always there. She said to me the other day, because I had commented about Murphy, she said, how is it that old Murphy can be in so many places at once? He can. We're talking about Murphy and his laws. What can go wrong will go wrong, right? Isn't that one of his? Excuse me. Okay, how are we looking here? Getting a little closer. Yep. Just a few more, guys, and we will be past the worst. Oh, I keep hitting these bad ones. I think I might have opened the wrong bag, that I was working on the other bag, maybe. But it's just a few more. And it's not even you can say, well, the red ones are no good, because the next red one you put on will be fine. Okay, let's see how we're looking here. Almost. Yes. So we will be making, I will be having a series of different flowers that we'll be making over the next few weeks. And it's kind of my spring thing that we'll be doing. So if you like handmade flowers and you don't want to spend a ton of money making them, or a ton of money buying ones that you can buy that are already made, the real fancy ones with the tulle and the lace and that's what we're going to be making. And I'm hoping to show you some fun things that you've never seen before again, because I love doing that. Okay, I think I have enough to go around. Ta-da! Okay, so now we're working on the side. So keeping the needle out of the way. You have to grow a few extra fingers to do this. I'm now going to put glue on the felt very close to the bead. And again, just doing a little bit at a time. And where's my needle? Thank goodness the thread isn't very long this time. So now I'm kind of holding it between my two fingers, and the glue is there, and I'm just going to hold and press it into the glue a little bit. It will try to curl to go to the back, but you really want it to be on the felt and on top of the felt and lining up with the other beads. So there comes a point where I've run out of glue here. And so again, putting a little bit of glue. So yeah, you need to grow a few extra fingers to do this. And then running the glue or the beads into the glue and gently, now even if it comes apart, that's okay. But as long as you've got it sort of holding and tight as it goes into the glue. And a little bit more glue. Oop. And going to, ooh, I'm stuck on the beads now. And going to the end, but not going right to the end. You know, saving at least the space of 1 or 2 beads. Yeah, I just wiped that glue on my pants. Yeah, tell me you haven't done that. Okay, so now you can see I'm close to the edge there, and there is no glue there, and I have a couple beads too many, so I'm going to take these 2 beads off, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. Oop, sorry, I got stuck there. It's very hard to see. I actually think I can take 1 more bead off, which I'm going to do. And That is looking pretty good. It is a little wonky still, and that's okay. But now I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to feed it in from where we started, pushing down into the felt, which you probably can't see. And you do have to watch your fingers, and there is glue, but you will find a spot where you can catch it eventually. It's kind of one of those things you got to feel around to get it to work. Okay, so it's come through now on the back side, and I'm just going to gently pull it and pull it into that last bit of glue. And you know, there's some glue spots where it's oozed out a little bit, but that's okay. And I don't want to rest it down on the table, although I will just kind of smooth it a little bit. And so because I've done this third row now, you really cannot see the felt. It's like a little button almost. Does that make sense, what I've shown you? I hope so. If you have any struggles with this, let me know. I can always do another video. So the thread has come outside of the back, and I've just pulled it gently enough to hold it all in place. And then I'm going to make a knot. Oop. Or not. Not or not. Okay, glue on every finger, so be prepared for that. And then pull it through the felt again at the back. And cut my thread. So you can see it's a little bit more, now it's coming through on the other side. And what I do is I find a flat surface, and in this case it's a glue cap. And I just kind of lay it on there and just kind of squish it all a little bit more so I know that it's in place. Actually, that's a little bit small. I'm going to use this thing, because this way it'll peel off of here if it does get stuck with a little bit of glue. Now, if you're using glue and you see that the beads look a little bit dull after you've played with it for a bit, and you know, you may have gotten glue on the gem, you may have gotten glue on the beads itself. Just leave it sit like this, and you can always take like a little bit of clear nail polish, or maybe you've got a little bit of water-based varnish or some type of a sealer, and just brush it all around. Just a very light coating. If you put too thick of a coating, it will pool in between the beads, and then the beads kind of get lost as far as the finished gem itself looks. But that is the fastest beading you will ever do. Isn't that gorgeous? And it's just so pretty. So I've got that one done, and I have another one here somewhere in my pile. Oh yeah, here it is. This is another one that's done with the third row around these little gems. So they become more of a rounded cabochon because it gives that effect with the outside edge being covered. But otherwise, even as a flat gem, they're equally nice. So I'm going to cut this one out just to show you some other things here. So just cutting it very close to the beads, you know, slightly on a slant under the beads. You get a feel for how close you can cut this too. And just trimming a little bit more. And if you're using your you know, your little fussy cut scissors, you can get really close. And sometimes you can't even see that white at all. And if you are using it on a definite project where you want to have where you don't want to see this white period, then I would recommend using a felt that is closer in color to whatever it is you're going to put it on. But I have this little piece of doily here that is all these cute little circles, and I'm going to cut these up individually anyway, so I might as well just do it now. And cut one of these off. And you can find these things. And you can use little pieces of round lace. You know, you can use a die cut to put these on. You know, maybe you have a cute little doily or something. But just adding this on, well, this is too big now. This little one, adding this onto here and gluing it down, again, gives you a totally different look as far as a finished little gem. Pretty easy, right? Okay, so we're going to start one of these little ones because I showed you how to do the big one. And you can see, now you can also do oval, you can do square. The only thing with a square or anything with a sharp edge, like a heart shape where you've got to go around and then end in a point, you want to do halfway, maybe thread it underneath, bring it back up again, and then continue to do the same thing on the other half. So you may just use a thread and going in and out a little bit more than what you normally would. But this is dry and hard like a rock now. This one's been sitting for a while. So I can again trim this out. And it's ready to go on something. I just have to do a little bit, you know, tweaking on my trimming, but it is ready to be used onto something. Now, you may not like any of my color combinations that I'm doing, and that's fine. I wanted some bold gems to use for my boho journals, so that's kind of the type of thing that I would use it for, and I want some really wild and funky colors. So in order to do these little tiny gems, as I was saying, where'd they go? Here they are. It is so easy. These things get lost because the beads are higher. So you need to create a little bit of a lift for them. So all I do is I cut out a tiny little piece of felt, smaller than the gem itself. Wrong scissors. Now, you could use pop dots, but pop dots are actually too big. So if you have pop dots, for those of you that use them, and I'm not fond of pop dots. I don't like those things. And then just take your little gem. Now, they come with adhesive, but I'm never completely comfortable that the adhesive works until you want to take it off of something, right? So I just put, you know, a little bit of glue. Taking my hot glue gun. Normally I would just use the white glue, but for today. Ooh. Glue stick, can't need a glue stick. This is a new glue gun, by the way. Tom bought this for me for Christmas. I mean, I ordered it, but it's a sure bonder. It's got a really nice tip on it for doing precise work. But I just put a tiny, tiny little dot of glue. Not much, and you hope it doesn't move. You may want tweezers or something if you're not careful. And I put this little fluff ball that I just cut out onto it. And that just gives it a little bit of a cushion and a little bit more height when you're going to put it on your main felt. So before you glue the gem down, you're going to take your needle and thread, and I have to take a new one, so I'll put that out of the way. Come up from behind on the felt. Let's use this little piece here. You sort of have to know where you want your gem to be sitting, of course. So you're going to come up behind with the knot in it. Lay it flat on the felt. And put a little dot of glue, just a tiny dot. You don't want it to ooze out. The more you have it ooze out, the more chance the beads won't sit snug against it. And then I'm just putting that felty blob piece on top. And this just gives it a tiny, tiny little bit of space so that the beads fit nicely. and then thread is ready to go, and I can just thread my beads onto here and make another gem. I'm not going to bother. You've seen how it's done, and so just go back to the beginning to watch it again to follow the whole procedure. But this just gives you an idea of how to do these little stones. So if you've got this kind of stuff, do get it ready ahead of time. They're so darn cute, aren't they? And I'm going to be using these for some flower centers. I'm going to be doing some pretty funky flowers. So depending on the kind of colors of flowers you want to make, you know, we're going to be working with fabric. You may want to watch for the first time and then gather your stuff. But yeah, next week we're going to be making some basic flowers, but the flowers are only going to get better and better after that. Something else I should mention, and I haven't mentioned, is if you want to have things dangling from here, it's just a matter of stitching through the felt and having, you know, stitching on little items to dangle. Of course, I don't have anything on the table, do I? Yeah, I have like this little thing. So I could dangle something like this from the bottom just by stitching it in place. You know, you could have pieces of chain. I do have a piece of chain here on the table. So this could be just stitched from behind to have it dangle, and then maybe you could put a bead, or you could stitch another cabochon at the bottom. So it would look like that. Can you see that? Here, let's move it over. So you could have, and you know, you've got the felt to work with, so you just stitch from behind, add these things on, and you can keep going. So isn't that a fun little piece? Make a great pair of earrings if you want to put the earring hook on that part. So have some fun and play. I'm sure this is it's not rocket science. You know, I'm trying to make it easy for you, and I don't want to get too complicated by adding other options. These are things you can do along the way, or as we do other projects, you can do some with different dangles hanging from it. But that's it. That's all for today. Tomorrow is Wednesday, and I will be doing some Happy Mail because when I dropped off the last batch I had to drop off on Monday, all my Happy Mail is out. So you should be getting in the mail in the next couple of weeks at least. I've noticed going from Canada to United States, things have been backed up quite a bit. We've had some storms here. You guys have had some lousy weather too, so you got to expect that into the factor. So if you're missing one, you know, just wait a little longer or mention it to me so I can confirm, and then I'll sort of know where you should be at. If you have got some Happy Mail, it would be nice if you would let me know that you got it. That I would appreciate that. And again, if you want to join Happy Mail anytime, just follow the links to hashtag Happy Mail Movement, and you can get all the information from my channel. So that'll be Wednesday. Thursday is supposed to be Thrifty Canucks, but I'm going to be away on Thursday, so there won't be a Thrifty Canucks, but I will be working on getting those digitals up that were supposed to be up last week. So that'll be this week, and if I have a few minutes, I will try to work on more for this week. But I think we've got a lot on your plate. We've had great success with the bingo card. So the bingo card is sitting here, and you know, if I really wanted to, I could glue a gem on there. Like, look at that. Isn't that pretty? Or one on here, you know. So again, this just shows you how cute these can look on different projects if you add them on to a finished project. So yeah, the bingo card idea has been really fantastic. We've had some great response to it. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of your bingo card swatches whenever you have a chance to make them. Friday will be the Friday follow-up, and I'm hoping Saturday we can do another arm's length art. I just got to figure out what we're doing. So that's it. That's all for today. Start beading, because remember, next week we're doing some flowers. So have yourself a very creative week and get some things done, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Bye for now.